I got it.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so this is gonna be Ocarina of Time any %. Perhaps one of the most infamous speedruns of this game at this point, mostly because of the influence of Narcissa Wright, I'd say. She really popularized this category. One could argue a few years back when she was still Cosmo Wright. Mostly with the 1810 at the time. In 2014, Cosmo got Ocarina of Time in 18 minutes and 10 seconds and any % run, and it was so optimized at that point that everyone was kind of like, okay, this is not going to get pushed much lower. It's going to get pushed lower at all in the next few years. And then like a few months later, Jodenstone just kind of came out of nowhere onto the scene, and he started like really grinding hard to beat Narcissa's time, or back then Cosmo's time, and eventually, after like months of grinding and like thousands of attempts in total, he did it with 1807. And the only strat he changed was like a 2-second time saver, which was YOLO escape. And at that point, people were like, "Wow, 1807. This is not gonna get any lower anytime soon. Like this is gonna stay like this, Which was until somewhere in 2015 when the Glitch Hunter and Runner Skater was like messing with he was messing with a glitch found by glitches and stuff in 2010, and he basically found a way with a crawl space and a Deku Nut drop. He found a way to get a bottle in the Deku Tree. And it was a really crazy run because you needed, there were basically 3 enemies in the room, and you needed the Deku Nut drop from the enemies, right? They had a 12.5% chance to drop them, I think, each. So you had 2 enemies that needed to drop that item in the right spot as well. And so you have to understand, like, more than 80% of your runs died just to RNG, just to like the random luck factor. So it was really hard to grind. And at first that route was the run by like Skater and Joden, who like first beat like the 18-minute mark. And then eventually Torje kind of came onto the scene and really started to optimize the category as well. And since then, it's kind of been Torje and Skater trading times back and forth. But it was a really annoying route to optimize, even though the optimization thirst was really there. Because of that RNG factor, it was really hard to just even get a run going. So I don't think Torje ever optimized it as far as he'd like to. But then in the summer of 2016, the trick was like a team of people found a way to do it in a new way, mostly Skater and Bluebee, I think, and the Macaron, and that's the route you're going to be seeing today. So this route is new since like the summer of 2016, so it's still relatively new for Ocarina of Time standards, and it's just kind of amazing how this game keeps evolving after all this time has gone by, and every time we think this game's dead, and every time new stuff just keeps getting found. So the first thing you're going to notice here, if you haven't like seen many of these speedruns before, is the method of movement is basically backwalks, side hops, and rolls. Is the fastest. Like there's slight differences, but that's most of what you're going to be seeing here. And they're just going to get the sword and the shield. The shield is 40 rupees, so you're going to see them do like a rupee right here, so you got 40 rupees. And also get the shield in this maze. I mean the sword in this maze. But anyway.
What's the number of rolls where if you're going in a straight line, it's more worth it to backwalk? Isn't it like?
I think it's like 4 rolls. You can do 4. If you're gonna do more than that, you probably should just turn around and backwalk. The screens are buffering for me.
Everyone is saying that they still can't hear us very well.
Well, I really can't do anything about it.
Oh, that was my first mistake.
Oh yeah, this is a trick called bridge clip, where they just do a frame perfect jump / get onto this bridge. Oh my god, they fell off. It's kind of hard to do under pressure like this.
Do we both fall off?
Okay, I think Baker's going for the backup roofie now. Is that true?
No.
is it Torje? Let's see who's who.
Near complete
Baker,
sync.
so Baker went for the back of Ruby, and Torje got the Ruby on top of the bridge. That's probably both got the shield, and now they're heading into the Deku Tree to that that new Gim method. But first, there's this glitch to get. There's a little like momentum trick to get to the Deku Tree faster. What they're gonna do is they're gonna side hop, jump slash into the cutscene trigger, and because they're like in the state of jump slashing, while the game is trying to build up speed to get them to walk towards the Deku Tree, it's like building up too much speed, and if they do it right, you kind of see them shoot forward. So Torje just did it right here, and he like shot like kind of past halfway down the hill. Baker went like a little bit less far.
I didn't get
But
the jump slash.
yeah, he didn't really get it, but like it still like sort of looked weird. Like went for it. And the Deku Tree is really where hell breaks loose.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah. So first thing you gotta know is that there's a Navi text trigger at the vines, which Torje first here is gonna skip by pulling out his sword, because while you're pulling out an item, Navi doesn't talk to you. It just works that way. So Baker didn't time it properly, and he got the Navi text. So Torje saved a little bit of time right there. Now here, I won't explain all these tricks in depth because it's just too fast. He got infinite sword glitch, and now he's kind of like avoiding this skull shell over here. Now, with infinite sword glitch, you can hover off of damage sources. So what he's gonna do is gonna hover off of the damage from that skull shell on the wall, do a backward side hop to get onto this web. Now he's gonna frame perfectly side hop off to break that web without climbing up all the way to the top. And here he's gonna do a trick called vine clip with a very precise positioning. And what that is if you grab the vines, you basically have like one frame, like a little part of the animation you get to like push through the vines. And if you get damaged during that part, it pushes you like all the way through. So now Torje's goal, I'll go into detail later, but now Torje's goal is to basically make the game think he's diving underwater, which is what he's doing right now. He's doing dive cancel. He makes the game think he's diving underwater, even though he's not. And then he got onto the vines, while the game still thinks he's climbing underwater. Notice the number on his A button. And then it happened really fast right there, but he slashed the Deku Baba and picked up the Deku Nut, but not really. Like he walked into it, the Deku Nut disappeared, but he didn't play the get item animation. The reason was that the game still thought he was underwater, and if you pick up an item underwater that's supposed to play that get item animation, like, you know, Ruto's letter in a bottle or whatever, it plays it when you resurface. And now he's walking up to this chest, which I'll explain. I didn't pay attention to what happened with Baker there.
I got hit with a lava.
He's just trying to do a little jump to skip B1. But anyway, there's this value in the game's RAM, which determines which item you get with the get item animation, and that same value is used for chests. So what Torje did right there was he stood in front of a chest, so the A button set open, which changed the value he would get from jumping back into the water. Because if he jumped into the water after picking up that Deku Nut, the game would just give him Deku Nuts. But because he stood in front of that chest, the game gave him a bottle with blue potion, which is exactly what's needed for this route. This skips the Kakariko trip. This skips the old Gim method with the RNG nut drop.
Now you never have to leave the forest.
Yeah, and I never have to leave the forest. You can just, you don't have to, you can't get bugs in Deku Tree yet though. You still have to go to the forest to get bugs, which you'll see. But first, Torje here is gonna beat Goma.
By the way,
you go on.
since we're seeing Baker do the vine clip again, the setup is to hit the gold Skulltula before it can move, because it rotates based on RNG, and it needs to be in its initial position to get the vine clip that they want.
Yes. Oh, Baker died. That sucks. In the meantime, Torje beat Goma, so Torje's getting ahead right here.
Yeah, my run's basically over.
Nah, you can do it, man. Torje is gonna get stuck on Instaclip. I'm calling it.
I'll spend like 4 minutes there, don't worry.
Yeah, that's where all any percent races go to waste. It's just all thrown away on Instaclip. Yeah, anyway, we can like pay attention to this. Torje killed himself to get to the entrance of the dungeon faster. And Baker's like slightly doing this. This setup is really precise. You have to understand that, because if you're basically sidewalking to that spot on the vines, and if you sidewalk for even 1 frame during those side hops, it doesn't put you in the right position. You know, you have to be like perfect with your positioning, otherwise it's not gonna work. So this is a really precise setup, like more precise than most Ocarina time setups. And right there, Torje in the meantime tries to do a Wes, or a water extended super slide, which is basically you're holding a position slightly away from the neutral position on the analog stick, which the developers forgot to program a speed value to that like slight shuffle in place, which you get when you hold the analog stick slightly away from the neutral position. So we call that ESS position, because you can keep your speed, and if you do that alongside, if you keep your jump slash momentum, that's a really fast way of movement that just requires a sword. So that's what we're trying right here. In the meantime, as you can see, he got bugs, which are going to be necessary later on.
I did want to comment on doing the double kill with Goma, where you kill him and kill yourself at the same time.
But notice Torje though. Notice Torje's doing the waterfall west, where he's changing his ESS. He didn't get over real quick, but he changed ESS position from left to right on VC, which is especially hard to do. It's easier on N64, but you don't see many people doing it on VC. I think Torje can do it, Skater can do it, there's a few more, but it's not that common. But go on.
That it unloads the door for the wrong one that we'll be seeing in a minute.
Wait, what was that?
That the door that falls behind Goma when you enter the room is gone now.
Okay, I think I know.
Oh yeah, the slab that closes.
Holy.
When you,
Yeah.
What my
encounter
issue
Goma for the
is.
first time is gone. That's why it equals Goma.
I think my issue is that, like, since I'm using OBS audio through, like, the device
Oh
itself,
my god, did you safety save?
the audio
I did
delay is
technically.
different from
It's a while
Amaranth.
back though.
Oh my god, you better reset.
So, like, all my audio cues are messed up.
This might be a tight race after all.
Holy shit.
We'll see.
Are we even now?
I don't know
This-
where Baker is.
I don't know.
I
Wait,
haven't
so
done
you
any of that.
didn't safety
At
save?
least you can see Baker
I
do
safety
this
saved that
awesome
Goma.
trick again.
Oh.
Dang.
Okay, so here's the thing with this trick. It basically abuses the way we make the game think that Link's diving underwater is using a glitch called ledge cancel. Oh, so are you gonna get this S? Oh no, I didn't get it. It's a glitch called ledge. No, it's a glitch called dive cancel. So when you're out of bounds and you're not standing on solid ground, you're just floating in water or falling or whatever, a timer starts counting up from 0 to 10 seconds. And the instant it hits 10 seconds, the game locks your timer. The game locks your camera in place. Your camera locks, and you can't like move your camera anymore. It won't follow Link around anymore. All right. And if you press C up while the camera's locked, and you dive on the same frame, the game thinks you're like in first-person mode, even though you're not. It kind of behaves like you're in first-person mode. And also, it thinks you're diving down, even though you're not. You can like hear the diving noises, right? And Baker, in the meantime, and now is doing. Now it's heading towards Go with this sized jump right here.
Torje, make sure you
Yeah.
pause in Link's house.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so using camera lock and dive cancel. After dive cancel, the game thinks you're diving underwater, and then you can use Link's bobbing animation to find the perfect frame to swim forwards towards the lines. And you have to like swim sort of diagonally towards the lines as well to make sure that you're actually getting while not swimming in the water, while not actually moving through the water for even a single frame. Because if you move through the water at all, the game realizes that you're not the game realizes that you're not diving down. Like, cause you're faking diving underwater. And if you just swim through water, the game will realize, oh, he's not diving underwater. So you have to like be really close to the water. That's why this setup is so amazing that it even exists. Because yeah, it took us a while to find it. Like not that many variants of it because it's so precise. Meanwhile, Baker's doing Goma. Torje's westing to the door over here. Oh. I think the setup for so what he does right here is he places a bottle with bugs in Link's hands by dropping them and re-catching them. And then he's gonna do a backflip onto the edge of the blue warp. And what that does is, if you're in midair and you press the button for the bottle, the game goes, okay, do the cutscene with the item in Link's hands. Now in midair, Torje switched that item in Link's hands to a sword. So then the game still goes, oh, do the touchscreen, do the cutscene with the item in Link's hand. Even though it's the sword, which doesn't really have a cutscene assigned to it, so it just does the default cutscene, which is the Ocarina. And that's how you play your sword as an Ocarina. He did that on the edge of the blue warp. Not for the Ocarina effects, but to warp to this place. He just warped to Ganon's castle. He gained control after walking off the warp, because you can press B to like regain control of Link after playing an Ocarina, even if it's a fake Ocarina. And then he walked to the door in such a way that he loaded the warp for a specific number of frames. Because you have to understand, the N64 doesn't always load that blue warp. So if you stand like far enough away from it and you're like, it's like on your right or on your left, it's not in your front or on your back. It doesn't actually load it. The warp isn't like trying to take you up. So if you move through the room in a certain fashion, you can manipulate the warp so it spends just the right amount of frames, like counting up that cutscene. Because it's counting. Basically when you go through the blue warp, it starts counting a timer from 0 to 101. Every frame counts at 1. So after 101 frames, you should be taken up. And I'll explain this trick to you later.
And so, the reason I just wanted to pick up on it. The reason that it takes you to Ganon's castle is because it says like play the cutscene in Kokiri Forest, but then the initial instruction is play the cutscene, but then you're not going to Kokiri Forest, you're going to Deku Tree Basement. And so, since you're going to a room with no cutscene value assigned to it, it goes to what the offset would have been, which is Ganon's castle collapse. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'll get to that. Basically, so remember that timer that starts counting up and counts to 101? Basically, Torje Baker's manipulating the timer to like count up, and then when the warp unloads, the timer isn't counting up anymore. And then the way he walks through this door makes it so that here, but it makes it so that the timer warps you away on the same frame that this door takes you away to the next basement. And the warp tries to take you to Kokiri Forest, which is just an entrance value. It's just a number that enters Kokiri Forest. Plus 5. Because there's 4 setups, there's 4 normal setups for Kokiri Forest. It's Kokiri Forest, the normal number plus 0 is just child at daytime. Plus 1 is child nighttime. Plus 2 is adult daytime. Plus 3 is adult nighttime. Plus 5 is the first cutscene. And plus 4 is the first cutscene. Plus 5 is the second cutscene. So Kokiri Forests plus 5 is the cutscene it's supposed to take you to. But because you mixed it in with the Deku Tree Basement. Oh, Torje died. Oh my god. Because you mix it up with the Deku Tree Basement,
Holy
it
moly.
takes you to the number plus 5. Deku Tree Basement plus 5. The table of entrances is kind of random, like it's kind of in a random order. And it just so happens that the number after Decotree Basement is a room in the Ganon's Tower collapse sequence, and that's how you can warp. Oh. That's how you can warp to Ganon's castle from the Decotree. In the meantime, I'll explain this trick that he's messing up right here. He's basically getting a Hess, a hyper-extended super slide, a full rock, and then he's like flipping, he's like doing this precise setup to get enough speed and proper angle and positioning to clip through a corner all the way at the bottom. And the entire point of that is to void out on the same frame that he touches like a loading zone with. Because those two warps get mixed as well. Like the void out, when you void out, it tries to place you on top of the tower. Again, like where you spawned, basically. And if you go through the loading zone, it tries to take you to the other room. So the two get mixed up, and it loads that other room, but the coordinates are still of the void out, so it still places you on top of the tower. And you can just fall all the way down to the bottom and skip the entire collapse sequence. But it's probably gonna get to a point where it wouldn't be faster to just walk. Like, are you playing? You did OI.
What?
I must remember your lie trying to fucking like copy out my bugs.
You can like shield swipe or to get like.
Oh, you can shield swipe, really?
Yeah, you can just crouch, press deco nuts, and then shield swipe. Yeah, it's like predicted. This is gonna be the point where most runs don't get this side.
Why not just like go down the tower the normal way?
Oh, that's the stupid way. These people are good enough to be the men.
Apparently not.
All these little casuals, including you in chat that's listening right now, did it the normal way. But these people don't. These people want to do it the man with the rope. Is this it? There's like a setup in Zelda to get the perfect angle and position to go through. It's a struggle.
Because once you die once up here, the lag goes away. And I have muscle memory built for the lag timing.
Let's hope they don't lose too much time to a tower collapse cutscene.
So dying once here usually snowballs really hard.
Yeah, it does. It's like messes with your self-confidence.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, about the tower collapse cutscene. There was a lot of drama about that, like a year ago. Basically, the tower collapse cutscene after this area has like random little particles that spawn, and they have like tiny amounts of lag difference depending on how the cutscene plays out. And so the difference between like a good tower collapse cutscene and a slow tower collapse cutscene is like what, a second?
Yeah, about a second.
Yeah, so it's like it barely happened. People got really agitated at the time. In the meantime, Baker got Void Warp. She spawned all the way to the top of the tower, but it loaded the room all the way to the top. Make his way through this out of bounds to get to this loading zone, which is a loading zone. Minor part. Absolutely. Now, if he doesn't, that's Torje did. He's probably winning this race. It's a possibility, but it shouldn't happen. Will he get the kiss? Oh no. There was the thing with runners do is like stand perfectly in front of Zelda, so Link like turns 180 and it looks like he sort of kisses her. Although it more or less doesn't look like it at all as Child Link. It's more of a thing as Adult Link. Oh, in the meantime, Torje also got a Void Warp. So Baker has to miss a lot of ISGs for this fight for this race to turn around at this point.
Never know. The cutscene could even it up.
So, oh,
When I got the kiss, I already won the race.
Oh
but-
yeah, I lost the race because you just got the
True
kiss.
that. That's the only important factor.
My Wii plus the backflip will put me in the lead.
Yeah, that's another thing. I can't believe that wasn't found before. You can like while you're dealing like the last hit of the first phase of Ganon, you can backflip under his legs, sorta, and get closer to the Master Sword after that point. And no one did it in like the 1807 days, which is strange because people really optimized any percent back then. But I don't know. I guess it kind of just goes to show that there's always things to improve everywhere. Okay, so unfortunately for Torje, the tower collapse lag didn't even it out.
Damn.
We had estimated that his cutscene would be about 20 seconds faster, but I guess that didn't even it up.
Is there anything else we should like to explain about this fight? I guess he's gonna use ISG, which I didn't really go into depth about. It's like on the last frame of your crouch stab animation, if you can interrupt the crouch stab animation and the game will just instantly switch to sword. And it's a really efficient way to deal damage against bosses.
Also, it does jump slash damage because the crouch stab doesn't have its own damage value, so it just uses the last attack.
I forgot to actually program the damage value for the crouch stab. So it's just crouch stabs and ISG do the same damage as your last attack before. So this does both the just do a deck of stick jump slash, which is 4 damage value 4, and then this every crouch stab or ISG that does 4 damage. Oh. Close. Oh my
Okay,
god.
should I just say time when I hit Ganon or what?
Oh my god.
Alright, so my time is coming up soon.
My
Dude, shield swipe, bro.
fucking flip.
Okay,
It's a
time.
good race.
Thank you.
What year would this have been world record in?
Hang on, I have the document right here. So what's the time?
28 flat.
28 flat. All right. That's before the any. Oh, that's like April of 2012. Apparently, like the first any percent run that used Ganon. 28 minutes something. Choco popped the legendary Ocarina of Time speedrunner.
The household name.
Yeah.
Woo! Good race. Nicely done. Yay!
I'm proud we didn't make any 1810 jokes.
Oh yeah, we didn't. I should have said ISG,
You
ISG,
shouldn't,
ISG.
It's 3 years old. It's outplayed.
Yeah, at least we didn't introduce with, have you ever played a game so much you ran out of replay value? Anyways. That was a race and a half. Like actually, time-wise, holy.
The ultimate comeback by Baker.
I mean, I sort of expected this to happen, but not really.
Same.
Anyway, these people can do much better than this, and you know it's. Are you gonna like push down to 1705, Torje?
That's the plan, yeah. Once school starts in a week, I'm planning to get back on the grind. Try to go for 1705.
Hey, drag. Okay. Somebody finally banned that man.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy's spamming in chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.